Welcome to the WFH Virtual Congress, a Humanitarian Aid session. My name is Assad Haffar, and I'm the Medical and the Humanitarian Aid Director of the Humanitarian Aid Department at the WFH. I'm going to talk today about our expanded humanitarian aid program and how it really helps the different countries, the recipient countries, particularly from the developing world, on how to cope in a much better with their patients, and the most important, focus on the sustainable aspect of this program. So the humanitarian aid program started, in fact, in the year 96, where we started in a very modest way. However, since that time till today, we managed to reach 107 countries. Of course, many of these countries do not need us anymore, and they have reached a very good advanced situation. You can see here the map of all the countries that we managed to reach. Many of these, like I said, they don't need us anymore. A very good example is Russia, where they already reached more than maybe 4 or 5 IU per capita. I'm going to show you here now what could hemophilia, when it's not properly treated, could cause. This is a patient from Vietnam, where we can see how the negligence and not treating could lead to very serious complications with the patients. Some other also complications is the intracranial bleeding and hematomas. And these are two examples of what could happen also when we do not treat very well. And also the synovitis, which is still very much prominent in many of the developing countries, where you can see still knees with the size of a watermelon. Unfortunately, that's very prominent still in many of the developing countries. So in 2015, we started to think about expand our program in order to increase our donations from our corporate partners and reach beyond the ad hoc donations and start planning for subsequent treatment in these recipient countries. We wanted to make sure that our donations are much more predictable in terms of quantities, timeline, and shelf life, and of course, establish sustainable agreement with recipient countries and ensure a safety stock. We expected that our donations will reach more than 70 countries, but what is more important is leverage these donations with the governments in order to increase investment in hemophilia care and reach some kind of sustainability in these countries. So here you can see the usual usage or utilization of donated products. The two screens in gray are what we used to allow countries to use, which, because we didn't have much products, so only acute bleeding episodes and the life-threatening surgeries. With more products now coming to us, we could do corrective surgery. We could prophylaxis, preferably for the young children, and even treat inhibitors with immune tolerance induction or ITI. And you can see here that we provide also training on all these aspects, either on the ITI or the prophylaxis. And I'm going to elaborate on this later. So based on this, we would see that we started to witness really a very sharp increase in the quantities that we donate, and at the same time, the numbers of countries or the people that directly benefited of this. So in the next slide, you will see that in terms of the million IUs or the IUs that we donated, we managed to reach in 2019, 241 millions that were donated to 73 countries. The people treated with these donations reached almost 20,000 people. And the acute bleeding episodes also reached almost 65 bleeding episodes. Surgeries, we managed to reach almost 800 surgeries between minor and major surgeries. And at the same time, the people were put on prophylaxis were almost 1,600 patients on prophylaxis. Now, there were more positive achievements that we managed to do through the program, like this case from Gambia, which was a real cross-border cooperation. Mutalla is a patient from Gambia who was diagnosed in Gambia as factor VIII deficiency. And he had a bleeding and was treated, but with no success. You can see here that he was treated by cryo. So we managed to communicate with our colleague, Dr. Saliudrop from Senegal, and ask him if we could send the child to Senegal, which is really very, very near. So Dr. Diop received Mutalla. They did the testing again and found that Mutalla is factor IX deficiency. He was hemophilia B and not hemophilia A. So when he was given the right treatment, Mutalla got better. Another case of helping refugees. So this is a case of Zaid, who is a Syrian refugee in north of Jordan, where we donated product in order for Zaid to undergo surgical operations. And at the same time, helping people from areas where there are conflicts, like this case from Yemen, with inhibitors, who we managed to send him donations of bypassing agent to Pune in India. And Dr. Shashi Aptev from India, Pune, managed to do the surgery for a big hematoma, which was going to burst immediately before the person got that treatment. And the last example is a cross-border cooperation, where this child from Democratic Republic of Congo had an intracranial hemorrhage, and there was no treatment in the DRC. So we managed to send the treatment from Brazzaville, which is next door to DRC, and the patient was saved. Now, we did a lot of things in order to make sure that utilization of the donated product is in the maximum, particularly in terms also of diagnosis. So we managed to encourage and enhance the lab diagnosis in these countries, particularly for inhibitors, improve the logistic capacity and compliance of people working with the donated products in these countries, and enhance the experience of the treaters by multiple training we did, and at the same time promote joint scientific work among the treaters from these countries, and also improve the knowledge and expertise in special procedures, particularly for circumcision or synovectomy, which is very important in developing countries. I'm just going to give you two examples of testimonials. Kyle, who is an inhibitor patient from Trinidad and Tobago, unfortunately, he had a big hematoma in his lower limb, which led to the amputation of his leg using donated product from the WFH. But that didn't prevent him from getting married. And I received recently the photos of the marriage in Kyle, which is really encouraging how the humanitarian aid program changed the life of Kyle and his father, shown here in the photo. And this is really what we received last Christmas from one of the cities in Philippines, where the patients established or built this Christmas tree with the empty boxes of the donated product, and they called it Life Saver Christmas tree. So I will finish, I like always analogy, so I'm gonna finish with this and say from the Star Trek analogy that the WFH Humanitarian Aid Program has boldly gone where no one has gone before. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Miss Megan Adediran. Megan is the president of the Hemophilia Foundation of Nigeria, and she's going to talk to us about the importance of the humanitarian aid program in terms of the sustainability of care in Nigeria.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation and to the first WFH Virtual Summit. First, I'd like to thank the WFH for bringing together this virtual summit, looking daily into how they can educate and inform us as a community. My name is Megan Adediran, President, Hemophilia Foundation of Nigeria. I'm reaching you from Kaduna State, Nigeria. I'll be speaking to you today about how can the Humanitarian Aid Program help countries implement Hemophilia Care Program, the NMO experience. My disclosures, I actually don't have any other than I'm a parent of 2 boys with severe hemophilia and also a carrier myself. I'll be talking about the HA program as a life-saving program, a data collection, coalition between stakeholders, and progress so far. For me, the humanitarian aid program has remained the difference between life and death. It's for parents and patients in developing countries like Nigeria. Without the humanitarian aid program, I actually don't know what families like mine will have been able to, how will have been able to cope. Looking at the pictures on my slide, you will see a very beautiful, very handsome young boy who had bleeding on his lips, and in the past, this could have been fatal. This could have actually led to death in the past. But because of we have products available, we're able to make a difference. The humanitarian aid program has also helped healthcare providers to better manage patients. This has been very difficult for them in the past. It has been traumatic. I've seen healthcare providers look helpless, not because they don't want to help, but because they don't have what to use to help. But with the humanitarian aid program, this has drastically improved. Now, we have also used the humanitarian aid program as an NMO to collect data. From our HTCs around the country, we collect data on the impact of prophylaxis, which we started in 2016. We've been able to show what the difference has been for children in the past and now. We also collect data on circumcision because this is a very important thing in my country. It's both a religious and a traditional belief, and parents are so strongly attached to having it done. And in the past, it has had a high mortality rate. It has actually been one of our pointers to finding new patients. And so we have collected data recently to show government that because of humanitarian aid program, we've been able to successfully run circumcision without having any mortality rate. So this is something that we've also been able to show to government in terms of collecting data. Another thing we've been also able to do with our humanitarian aid program is coalition. You cannot achieve anything alone. I've always said that it's impossible for one person to want to do something alone, or one organization to think you can change the world alone. So we come together, we look for people that can work with us. We've partnered with people in the past, and that partnership has led to this formation of this coalition, which includes the WFH, HFN, the Federal Ministry of Health, and some pharma companies that are interested to come on board. Together, we are trying to see how we can push forward to the next phase in Hemophilia Care Program. We've also had visits to both the executive and the legislative arms of government, as far back as in 2016, when the WFH president visited Nigeria, along with the NHF president, then Val Byers. We had a visit to the House Committee on Health, chairman, and we also visited the then Minister of State for Health, who is presently now the current Minister of State, Minister of Health. So we've had some of these things being done, but the major step we've actually gone through is this coalition, which we had the first meeting in November. And we had the Federal Ministry of Health in attendance, we had pharma companies in attendance, we had HFN, we had healthcare providers, and we had the WFH joining us online. Now, with all of this, what have we achieved so far? We have been able to achieve getting a desk officer. This has actually been one of our cry, because in the past, whenever we go to the Ministry of Health, because we don't have someone who is responsible for bleeding disorders, sometimes our letters get missing, sometimes somebody doesn't know the next thing to do. So we always wanted to have a desk officer. Now, the Federal Ministry of Health started by giving us a desk officer at the Federal Ministry of Health in the person of Dr. Alain Baumann. And then we also have 5 states that have also given desk officers, and that is making things much easier for us. Now, another thing we achieved was a state called Nasarawa State in the North Central Zone actually had a budget for hemophilia activities this year, but because of the COVID-19, we were unable to do much with the budget, but it's a step forward that we have a budget. Through the coalition, we submitted a proposal to the WFH, which was helped develop together with the WFH. And that proposal just last week, we heard that has gone a step further by us having a budgetary plan in the 2021 budget, and we are hoping that we can push through and have that budget scale through. So these are a few of the things that we've been able to achieve. But finally, I would like to say that personally, I believe that as NMOs, it's not just enough for us to ask WFH for factors. It's not just enough for us to receive treatment products from the WFH. It is more important for us to use these treatment products as an advocacy tool to get better treatment. NMOs should learn to collect data, should learn to submit data, should learn to give annual reports to their government so that government will know the impact of what the WFH program is doing and how they can also come on board to make life easier for our patients. Thank you.
Next, I would like to introduce Dr. Kibet Shikuku, the treater from Kenyatta National Hospital in Nairobi, Kenya. I've known Kibet now for more than 10 years, and he's gonna talk to us about the opinion or the role of treaters in the sustainability of the humanitarian aid in general.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My names are Dr. Kibet Peter Shikuku, a lecturer at the University of Nairobi and the current chairman for Kenya Hemophilia Association. I would like to make a presentation regarding the role the humanitarian aid program does to sustain hemophilia care programs in countries that are benefiting from this program. And I'll be presenting this as a treater who is managing patients with hemophilia and other bleeding disorders. Let me start by saying in Kenya, access to quality healthcare is a basic right that is granted by our constitution. And the intention is to provide the highest attainable standard of health with the right to healthcare services. And in this country, everyone is accorded the best of care by all facilities, be they public or private. And the state has put in affirmative action that is designed to ensure that minorities, including patients with bleeding disorders and marginalized groups, have reasonable access to not just healthcare services, but water and infrastructure. So as a program, as Kenya Hemophilia Association, our mission has been to work together with other stakeholders for the social good and greater benefit of all people living with hemophilia and other bleeding disorders. And so as a treater, I coordinate several medical activities with a group of doctors in 6 different regions. And these regions have all established centers. Each of these centers is certainly overseen by a medical person, and they assist in several aspects, including providing care to patients. So coming back to the program, I would like to then look very quickly on the impact of the humanitarian aid program as a treater in this country. One is that more clinicians have been trained and are now participating in patient care. When I joined the program 5 or 6 years ago, care was relatively minimal. And besides that, we had very few clinicians that were participating in patient care. But now we have more people participating of all cadres and of all disciplines. And so care has improved as a result. The second thing is that there's now a lot of confidence in patient management. People do not fear anymore how to deal with a bleeder, be they complicated scenarios or relatively straightforward bleeding disorders or episodes. There's also an increased interest in research on bleeding disorders. One, as a lecturer, I have several students now who are interested to participate and provide care directly to patients. And besides that, people are now writing proposals on how to engage on hemophilia and other bleeding disorders in terms of research. More so, there has been an increase in treatment facilities. Previously, we only had 2 facilities that were managing care, and now there are about 6. Actually, our hope is that if the humanitarian aid program continues, we anticipate to open up to a total of 47 treatment centers. And here we are looking at centers that can provide basic care to patients. And this has been necessitated by the vast and distances involved in patient movement. And of course, as you all may be aware, with the advent of coronavirus, it's become such an issue to move around from one region of the country to another. So we plan to escalate and possibly decentralize care a little further down to more counties. In relation to the patients, we now have structured visits to the clinic. Patients now can come and visit the facility using structured clinics that have been designed by various hospitals. We also have structured care programs in the hospital. We have prophylaxis programs. We have normal assessments of patients. We have screening events. We also have mothers now coming in to be followed up in case they have any challenges. And more so, we felt like we needed also to benchmark other diseases within our facilities. And the reason why we did this is also that then we can try to maximize on the utility of the staff that we have. And so we have also attempted to bring on board sickle cell as a disease as a rider to the activities that we are providing in the clinic. There's also an improved psychosocial activity, especially for our patients. Now patients can go to school, people can go to colleges, people can participate in various activities. I actually have a patient who has been participating in athletics, and he's done relatively well. He looks more satisfied than before and is more composed. Now he can get a living. We also have participation on program activities that include administrative as well as data management from our patients. And so the program has enabled us to participate on both international and national celebrations and events without distressing ourselves, because the aid enables us to address all the challenges that would have arisen as a result of our participation in various events. What about the parents? Now, parents have mental stability and assurance to life. Remember again, as parents, we will all be distressed and disturbed when our children are exhibiting distress on their own because of the bleeds. And we know that the bleeds can be quite devastating. They are also able to get involved in income generating activities like farming. Some are actually producing masks, baking. I've actually enjoyed my birthday from a cake that was baked by one of the parents. And we also have our patients actually participating in other activities, and we have a few that are now undertaking farming as an income generating event. In relation to other stakeholders, we have had different stakeholders joining the program because now they are assured of the support from the Humanitarian Aid Program. And this includes the University of Nairobi that has adopted Hemophilia as an outreach program, and some of us are participating because of this particular aspiration. We also have county leaderships participating in our programs, and we've been able to meet various health needs, even as we go to various hospitals for patients. And this has all been made possible because people are now comfortable that aid and care shall be brought to their patients. There is improved collaboration, and this is as a result of availability of factor concentrates. And more so, we've now managed to actually bring on board our parliamentarians, which is the highest organ that actually passes bills. And we've had bills being rectified. Now we have an ongoing bill that is under rectification for people with bleeding disorders, as well as people with disabilities. We know that some of our patients have disabilities, and they need to be included in those that are being remunerated for having disabilities. More so, the parliamentarians now have also included factor purchase in our budgets, and we are hoping that soon the government will be buying factors. We've also had the county first ladies being co-opted in our activities, and this include clinic openings. And so a lot of counties are being adopted to join the first ladies. And so the first ladies are actually going to be our champions. They are going to be speaking for us as a result of this humanitarian aid program. So based on this program, then there are several things that have arisen, and there are various groups that have benefited from the humanitarian aid program. For patients, we've had prophylaxis benefiting about 35 patients, circumcision and other operations reaching about 50 patients. We've held several summer camps for our clients and for well-wishers, and we've managed to diagnose more than 200 patients that have been included in our database. As far as the parents are concerned, we've held various meetings for parents, and actually I need to note here that initially it used to be mothers, but now we are seeing more fathers attending meetings as parents. And I think this is very encouraging, because for our African population, a lot of times when a child exhibits things that are not understood, men tend to run away. And we are happy that now our parent meetings are being attended by both men and women, which is a very good thing. More so, we've had psychosocial support reaching more than 100 parents. As far as the politicians are concerned, we have had a majority of them participating in our celebrations, especially World Hemophilia Day celebrations. Some have actually participated in our clinic openings, and 4 of those have actually attended some of our meetings. We've also had parliamentary sessions on hemophilia and other bleeding disorders occurring in Parliament, and we had 4 sessions. As far as the clinicians are concerned, because of the humanitarian aid program, we've managed to train almost 60 doctors, 146 nurses, 20 lab technologists, and 21 physiotherapists. So you notice that the humanitarian program has actually given us a huge impact. And these photos then demonstrate some of the activities that we have participated in. We've had to lobby in Parliament. The man on the left side of the screen in green is a member of Parliament. It's actually a disabled member of Parliament, and you'll notice that he has both passion for the disabled as well as those suffering from the disease. And so he has been a huge champion for us in Parliament. In the middle is Mr. Alain Baumann, the president of WFH, together with our president, Professor Karanja, receiving a gift from Kenya Hemophilia Association during his visit. And so this was actually when we were celebrating World Hemophilia Day. On my far right is myself and colleagues in the department following a visit again by Alain Baumann. And this is an indication that we jointly work together. And so the facility, if not the faculty, is heavily involved in patient care as a result of the humanitarian aid program. And we have Irene Chami from WFH, who is a local staff for WFH, resident in Kenya, and this gives us a lot of advantage when it comes to providing care to patients and actually working closely with the WFH. Further down is our equipment actually that we've been using to test patients. And again, we can't be testing without availability of care. And actually we've had reagents provided by the humanitarian aid program for testing. So again, this is an advantage to us because when care is readily available, testing is also made much more easier. And further down, lower down here, is the first lady of one of the counties with several other first ladies that were participating in the opening of a clinic in one of the counties. So you'll notice that there's actually quite a bit in terms of participation by different groupings because the humanitarian aid program is making change. If you come further down here, again, through the humanitarian aid program, we've actually managed to provide care to different groups of patients. We had a patient with a broken bone that required an operation to be done. And so they had to do open reduction and internal fixation. And you can actually see this young man recuperating after the procedure. And so we are able to provide care real time because of the presence and availability of factor. The gentle young man here in the middle came with a swollen or a hematoma around his eye. He had a periorbital hematoma following trauma. Actually, he was trying to play with a colleague and he hit him on the face and he ended up with a bleed. And after treatment, you can see he recovered relatively well. I want to just demonstrate what the humanitarian aid program has done in terms of us having structured and planned surgeries vis-a-vis, operations that are just done haphazardly. On my upper right here in the middle is a young man who was circumcised after we organized and planned for his circumcision. So we gave him factor before circumcision and he ended up doing relatively well. You notice that his wound is clean and this young man went home within the shortest amount of time, compared to a young man who went to a surgeon without us getting involved and had a huge hematoma and the wound gave way. And of course, when he came back, we had to, prepare him again, took him to theater, and this is what we ended up with after intervention. More so, we've managed to also treat patients with chronic bleeds, acute and chronic bleeds, and this enables this young man to go to school. This is a student who actually had a bleed and now is able to continue with his schooling because of the humanitarian aid program. Down here is a young man who would have been lost as a result of absence of factor because he had been hit on the head by one of his siblings and bled quite a bit. And previously, these guys could just bleed until they dropped down. Lately, since we got the humanitarian aid program, these are hardly seen anywhere within our setup. And so we are happy as a people, we are happy as a country, we are happy as treaters, and we can only say thank you to the humanitarian aid program, heavily supported, heavily guided, and again, Dr. Assad Haffar has been our champion, and he remains a key friend to this country, a key friend to the treaters in the continent. And we want to say thank you to the entire WFH team that has ever come to this country to support us, plus all our collaborators, all our donors. We say thank you and God bless you.
Our next speaker is Dr. Glenn Pierce, who is the Vice President Medical of the World Federation of Hemophilia. And he is going to talk to us about gene therapy and how gene therapy is becoming and will be the end of the game and really the sustainable tool for hemophilia care in general in the world.
Hello, my name is Glenn Pierce, the Vice President of Medical for the World Federation of Hemophilia. I'd like to talk about gene therapy as the next puzzle piece for a sustainable future. And I'd like to do this in the context of the Humanitarian Aid Program as a tool to get us to a future state of gene therapy. My disclosures: I work with a number of different gene therapy companies, some of which are in hemophilia. Well, how should we be thinking about this? How should less resource countries think about gene therapy? Let's think of it as a technology that will come to lower income and lower middle income countries, but it will take time. Why is this an important advance? Let's talk about what our limitations are with the use of clotting factor concentrates. And let's talk about the tools that we have at our disposal to prepare for a future of gene therapy. We're all aware of the giant disparities in factor use, the fact that 15% of the world, the high-income countries, use 64% of the factor. On the other side of that coin, the low-income and low-middle-income countries, which is about half the world, use 6% of the factor. Huge difference, huge disparity. Well, how could we get the lower income and the lower middle income countries up to the standard of care that we have with the use of factor in the high income countries? Let's run through a few numbers. From the last annual global survey, we have about 200,010 people with hemophilia around the world that have been identified. But we have more than 1 million that are expected based upon the work from Iorio and Stonebreaker and colleagues that published last year. That means 900,000 are missing. We also know that for purposes of just showing an example, 12 billion units of factor VIII are produced per year. Yet, if we want to fully support all 210,000 patients, we would need 36 billion units of factor VIII per year to get everyone to 1% troughs, a threefold increase. If we wanted to deal with the entire group of people with hemophilia who should be available around the world, over 1 million, that would be 180 billion units of factor, 15-fold increase to achieve 1% troughs. Well, clearly, we have grossly insufficient global manufacturing capacity to even get to 1% trough, let alone trying to gain further protection by getting to 3-5% trough levels. And on top of all of that, the cost of doing this is fully unsupportable. Can't be done. So a long-term solution really is gene therapy. If it's a once and done therapy, and if we can use it as a vaccine model and maintain costs. What do we need to prepare for gene therapy? Well, we've got some tools at our disposal. We have the Humanitarian Aid Program, as well as countries that are purchasing more clotting factor. That allows us to gain more treatment experience with the clotting factors and their use. We also have the World Bleeding Disorders Registry, which allows us to maintain and manage patients longitudinally, gather natural history data, benchmark their status, look at how we can improve their treatment, and see how that informs on their status. Are they doing better? Are they doing worse? That's a data collection tool that can be used and should be used now to be able to manage patients and gain that kind of experience. And then finally, we have the WFH guidelines for the management of hemophilia, the 3rd edition. These guidelines are in press in hemophilia. They'll be out in a few days and represent the work of hundreds of volunteers and staff, as well as many years worth of time. And they have state-of-the-art information. All of the chapters have been rewritten in order to provide the latest knowledge on treatment of hemophilia. So this is an important component as a tool for the management of patients around the world. So as we think about getting ready for gene therapy, over these next 10 or 15 years, I'm sure that one or more gene therapies will make an impact on hemophilia treatment and care in lower income and lower middle income countries. We should be prepared using the Humanitarian Aid Program, the products that countries buy, the World Bleeding Disorders Registry, and our treatment guidelines as tools to be able to inform care for people with hemophilia, to improve treatment for people with hemophilia around the world. These are the kinds of things that we could be thinking about today. And what we need to do is start the discussion. Think about the strategies that we need to do in order to be able to accelerate the introduction of gene therapy at some point in the future. I'd like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Glenn, for those remarks. And I'm Alain Baumann. I'm the CEO of the WFH. And this part of the session is really more to thank all the companies, but also the men and women who have really supported us and helped us make this a reality. Not for the WFH. The Humanitarian Aid Program is really helping tens of thousands of patients around the world. And this is really thanks to those donors and companies that are supporting us. I would like to personally thank all our sponsors and donors, Sanofi Genzyme, Sobi, Roche, Bayer, Grifols, and CSL. Their dedication to improving lives and commitment to our vision of treatment of all makes it possible for patients to be treated and also to receive more predictable and sustainable donation in the years in the last 5-6 years and in the years to come. But today is a very special day. We just are celebrating a major milestone. Our founding visionary partner, Sanofi Genzyme and Sobi, announced, and will announce today, but we signed yesterday, the renewal of another 5 years of their donation for up to 500 million units to the WFH Humanitarian Aid Program. Bill and Guido, thank you for your support and also for having led the way to other donors to join the programs. So you're not the only companies anymore. This renewal was only made possible because of your personal visionary commitment to the program. But you're not alone. We are very fortunate, and you are very fortunate to work with many employees in your organizations who make it possible. From the employees on your production sites, to your upper management, to your shareholders, to your boards, thank you. But particularly thank you, Phil Wood, Mohamed Guy, Peter Hauptig, Kathy Kennelly, and Bonnie Anderson, without whom this renewal would not have been possible. On that note, I would like to welcome our first speaker, Bill Sibold, Executive Vice President of Sanofi Genzyme.
Great. Thank you, Alain and Saad, and all the panelists for all that you do for the hemophilia community. And hello to everyone who is joining us in today's session. My name is Bill Sibold, and I lead Sanofi Genzyme, the specialty care unit of Sanofi. It's truly an honor to be part of this moment with all of you. We're living through a really remarkable period in human history, and it's astounding to know that we are all connected today, each of us from our homes, towns, countries all over the world, through a shared interest in doing all that we can do for people living with hemophilia. As Alain mentioned, I'm proud to share today that Sanofi, together with our partners at Sobi, have renewed our commitment to the WFH and will donate up to 500 million additional IUs of factor therapy, fulfilling the 2014 pledge to donate up to 1 billion IUs of clotting factor for humanitarian use. For Sanofi Genzyme, the idea of contributing to health and well-being of people with serious rare diseases, no matter where they live, is not new. For nearly 30 years, we have provided humanitarian aid to those who would not otherwise have access to life-saving treatments. We have a deeply held belief that our responsibility to the patient community does not end simply developing effective therapies. We must also help ensure that those therapies reach patients in need, regardless of their circumstances or where they live. The WFH Humanitarian Aid Program has undergone a dramatic expansion since 2014, and we're proud to be funding visionary contributors in this effort. In 5 years, we have donated more than 450 million IUs of factor therapy to the program that has been used to treat over 17,200 people in over 40 countries, boost the number of children on prophylactic treatment, treat more than 160,000 acute bleeds, and perform more than 2,300 surgeries. And through our commitment over the past 5 years, it's clear that by joining forces to pursue a shared vision, we can have a phenomenal impact. The scope of what the WFH has been able to do, powered by the contributions of our companies and those of many others, is far-reaching, both in sheer numbers and at a much more personal level in the stories of the people touched by the program. And we've heard some of those stories already today, but just to share a couple here. Stories like Solomon in Kenya, whose daily walk to school is now a bit more manageable with the help of regular doctor visits and access to factor therapy. And then there's Chiran, who lives in India and came to a treatment center after an accident left him paralyzed. Because of the access to factor therapy, he was able to have corrective surgery, something that might not have been possible without the WFH program. These are just a couple of the stories. There's many, many more, and there's going to be many, many more thanks to this program. We feel privileged to be able to contribute to these stories and hundreds of others around the world. But we are not done. We're honored to play our role in providing hope to the patients and families most in need, and invite everyone here today to join us in any way, no matter how big or small, in advancing the standard of care for all with hemophilia. Thank you for your time today, and may you stay healthy and well and enjoy the conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bill. Our next speaker is Guido Oelkers, who is the President and CEO of Sobi.
Yeah, thank you, Alain. It's really a pleasure, to share some thoughts from my side regarding this program. We joined this program around 5 years ago as a visionary founding member, and it's close to our heart as a pharmaceutical company that is focused totally on rare diseases, because this program is, for me, about inclusion. It's about the essence of humanity, and we are proud to be associated here. And it's fair to say that I think a lot of progress, Bill was mentioning the stats has been made with over 17,000 patients, but it's also fair to say that 75% of the hemophilia patients have not yet adequate access. And this is something I think that needs to be dealt with as we go along. It's also very close to what we associate, with hemophilia. We want to liberate the life of patients to live a life beyond hemophilia, a more normal life. And I got a bit of a sense, that how far from normality, life can be when I was privileged to join Alain and Ashraf and a few others in Morocco. And when I met, this mother with her child, let's say on the left, you get a sense, how far the realities in some of these developing countries are away from the life in the developing world. She was carrying her child from the mountains down to the treatment center. Before this program was alive, sometimes she would come, for hours without success. So to give her a more stable and, let's say, supply for her son and make her son, give her son an opportunity to walk again, I think was really a privilege. And, the little under story, is on the right, the young gentleman there. When I asked him how he felt that he could be part of this program, he felt, he's on crutches, 19 years old at that stage, and had a clear disability. And he said to me, listen, I felt I had to donate my portion to my brother because he was much worse off. And I think this program teaches you really about humanity and humility. And it basically means, that we cannot stop. As SOBI, we are very interested in this program to make sure that it goes further. And this program is obviously much more than the dissemination of product. It's also about creating awareness, knowledge. It's about access. And, I think we have seen some examples, that from the previous presenters in this regard. And, and I can only applaud the team around WFH, and I was, able to see what Ashraf is doing. And I think he was commended already earlier, and many others. So also Glenn or Mark, and obviously the entire WFH team. So this is really what this program is about. It's live, and it's a privilege to continue supporting this program. And, with 500 million units now over the next 5 years that we will make available with our partner, I think we can hopefully make a difference. 17,000 patients have already access to this program, but I think the ambition is to do much more good for more. And on this note, I wish everybody a great conference, and thanks for being part of this. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Guido. And what you didn't say in your words is that actually you joined us, and I think it was during the first week that you had joined SOBI as CEO. So this was really a clear commitment you gave to us, and we very much appreciated that. Thank you. In 2019, 2 other companies responded to our call for action, which we had given at our World Congress in Glasgow, and this is Roche and Bayer. Next to Iqbal Mufti, who will be presenting, a strong team made this agreement happen. And I also want to mention them because, again, it's all about individuals, and they are all working companies, but without their commitment to this program, nothing would happen. So thank you, Martina Saizena, thank you, Caroline Arnold, and thank you, Twende Tiok, as well as Galia Levy. Thank you. Here's our next speaker, Iqbal Mufti, the life cycle leader of Hemlibra at Roche.
Thanks, Alain. Hi, everyone. It is my pleasure to be here on behalf of Roche and to talk a little bit about our commitment to the WFH Humanitarian Aid Program. We are new to the program, but a proud moment for us nonetheless to be joining the WFH and all the other members of industry on this fantastic endeavor. These are my disclosures. At the Roche Group, consisting of Roche, Genentech, and Chugai, depending on where you are in the world, we are very proud to be part of the WFH Humanitarian Aid Program. This was a landmark initiative for Roche in hemophilia, both in the fact that this is the first for Roche to be part of a community-run donation program, and for how quickly we joined following regulatory approval in the first country globally. With approximately 75% of people with bleeding disorders receiving inadequate or no treatment, and we've heard that statistic already in some of the presentations, our partnership with the WFH really reflects our commitment to the hemophilia community and to supporting rapid, broad, and sustainable access as a priority for our organization. So through the WFH Humanitarian Aid Program, our donation will be available to as many as 1,000 people with hemophilia A over 5 years in locations where there is little to no access to hemophilia treatment. Meaning, if 1,000 people started today, they could get to be on prophylaxis treatment at the labeled dose for at least 5 years. I was recently reading the 2019 WFH Impact Report, and in that, and just as reference, 1,622 people with hemophilia A were treated prophylactically in 2019. And together, we have the opportunity to significantly increase the number of people with hemophilia A on prophylactic treatment. And we've already heard in some of the presentations how our aim should be prophylaxis treatment as the gold standard all over the world. We're proud to join forces with the WFH to substantially continue to raise that number. Beyond the product donation, Roche supports integrated care development training to ensure that local infrastructure, logistics, and medical expertise that is needed to initiate treatment. So since the program, since we joined the program, the WFH quickly initiated the first ever training in August. And I attended that training, and it was just brilliant to see the commitment of the WFH to get product into countries that don't have access to adequate treatment, and to see so many KOLs give up their time to show the commitment that they showed, as well as the local physicians that are there who have traveled far to get trained, and all of them and for all of them, the ultimate goal is to improve the lives of people with hemophilia A. And so in December, the first donation shipment was delivered to the WFH, and we were informed by the WFH the first patient was treated in April 2020, and that others have been treated since. A really proud moment, and we're proud to be on this rapid journey, and we're extremely pleased to be along with the WFH and the other members of industry, those that you've already heard from, as well as those that you will hear from. And our commitment is to work with the WFH. We're proud to be part of this impactful program and look forward to many milestones in the treatment of people with hemophilia A through the Humanitarian Aid Program in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Iqbal. The second company that joined us in 2019 is Bayer. And it's only because of the vision of Klaus Marten, Bayer's senior vice president, the head of hemophilia, that Bayer really joined the program. So also thank you to the support of Gregory Leclerc, of Martin Renze-Westendorf, without whom this donation would not have been possible. Here's our next speaker, Klaus Marten.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this talk. My name is Klaus Marten. I'm heading up the global hemophilia business at Bayer. And I have been with the company for 33 years by now. Since I'm the head of the global business unit, I'm of course responsible to make sure that our hemophilia business unit is delivering good numbers. So I'm looking after market share and all these things. But when I asked myself the question after 33 years in the pharmaceutical business, what is getting me going every morning? Why do I still get up at 6? It's clearly not the market share. It's clearly not the revenue. This is because we are helping patients. I have been working in different specialty areas during my career, and it has always been that we are working patients. And this is, I have to say, what gets me going. And if I look at Bayer as a company, if you look at our mission statement, health for all, hunger for none. If I look at health for all, this is clearly why I am at Bayer still after 33 years. This is a company that focuses on patient needs. Hunger for all, hunger for none, we can of course also try to accomplish because of our agrochemicals division, but health for all is the core, the foundation of Bayer Pharmaceuticals. Science for a better life is clearly our purpose. And if you think about back what Bayer did only in innovation for the hemophilia community, it started many, many years ago. And we are not stopping here. We are also involved, and I'm very thankful for Glenn Pierce to introduce us to gene therapy. We are also involved in the race to get gene therapy to hemophilia patients. When I think back about what did we accomplish, we joined this program 1 year ago in 2019. And there are many, many milestones we accomplished. But what's the most important for myself is really at the blue box at the bottom of the slide, reaching as many as 5,000 people with hemophilia per year across all types of treatment, on-demand, prophylaxisly, and surgery. So we are committed to continue to provide. Last year, we agreed on a 5-year partnership, and we are only in year 2 at this point. But the World Federation of Hemophilia and all hemophilia patients who are in need and don't have access at this point can clearly bank on us. We will continue supporting the hemophilia community worldwide. We only started last year, but donation support, patient support is clearly nothing new for Bayer. If you look at the left-hand side of the slide, there are many initiatives we are supporting. But for myself, I only want to mention one. This is the Bayer Hemophilia Awards program. And I'm pretty sure there are some colleagues and some physicians and researchers who are listening right now who started their career by being awarded one of our initiatives here. On the right-hand side, we focus clearly on education and access. Access is key, and access is not equally splitted right now in the world, as we all know. And we have many initiatives there. The Hemophilia Advocacy Advisory Board, for example, where we try to educate and work with hemophilia societies from around the world to make sure that we enhance access for all hemophilia patients. In closing, I have to say we at Bayer are very, very proud that we were able to join this program. I'm personally very proud, and I can give our clear commitment here that we will continue working with the World Federation of Hemophilia. We will continue to work with hemophilia patient organizations around the world in order to make sure to bring product access to patients in need. But everybody in hemophilia also has our commitment that we will continue to innovate, that we will continue to research. And at one point, I clearly hope personally that hemophilia patients around the world will have access also to products like gene therapy. Thank you very much, and enjoy the conference.
Thank you very much, Klaus, for those very nice words. A smaller company had decided to join us early on during the launch of the program, and in relationship to the site, made quite a significant effort to join this program. And this is Grifols. This would have never happened without the commitment of their leadership, of Victor Grifols, of Victor Grifols Dye. Also, I would like to thank here Chris Haley, who was really supporting us. So our next agenda is Lauren Syring, Manager Corporate Affairs at Grifols. Thank you very much.
Hello, thank you. My name is Lauren Syring, and I work in corporate affairs for Grifols. At Grifols, we consider it an ethical obligation to provide medicine to patients in need. 75% of hemophilia patients around the world do not receive adequate treatment, and Grifols is working with the World Federation of Hemophilia to change this. Grifols is one of the world's top providers of plasma-derived medicines to treat life-threatening diseases, and since 2014, our team has been proud to partner with the World Federation of Hemophilia Humanitarian Aid Program to help provide treatment for bleeding disorders across the globe. We have pledged to donate a minimum of 200 million international units of clotting factor medicines through 2021 as part of an 8-year initiative to help patients proactively manage their condition in developing regions where access to treatment is often lacking or absent. In 2019 alone, Grifols donated over 33 million international units of treatment products to the WFH Humanitarian Aid Program, which was distributed to 42 countries. This brings Grifols' total donations to over 129 million international units over the last 6 years and brings us one step closer to fulfilling our promise. 2019 also saw the launch of Grifols' Hemophilia Awareness Global Awards Program. This program supports the work of healthcare providers, hemophilia treatment centers, as well as hemophilia societies, in improving the care of hemophilia patients and the quality of life. Prizes are awarded to proposals that contribute to promoting education, supporting outreach, strengthening diagnosis, and facilitating access to treatment. To learn more, we encourage you to visit Grifols.com. At the beginning of this year, Grifols also signed an agreement with the WFH to expand our ability to provide clotting factor medicines to treat hemophilia patients in developing countries, demonstrating how our long-term commitment just keeps getting stronger. Our multi-use support will continue to provide a sustainable and predictable supply of treatment products to those most in need. We are working with the WFH to enhance the lives of roughly 100,000 people around the world who have hemophilia but receive little to no treatment. According to WFH, Grifols' total donations will secure a projected average of 10,300 doses to treat 6,000 patients per year in developing regions through 2021. At Grifols, we are honored to partner with the WFH's efforts to contribute to the significant impact the Humanitarian Aid Program is having on the global bleeding disorders community. It's really all about people helping people. Today and always, Grifols remains committed to improving the health and well-being of patients around the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lauren. And our last speaker today is Antti Kourula, the commercial lead for the hematology therapeutic area at CSL Behring. CSL Behring was actually the first company that decided to donate in a sustainable and predictable way years ago. And that was because of the vision of their CEO, Paul Perrault. So thank you. And here comes Antti Kourula.
Thank you, Alain, Assad, and WFH for the opportunity to talk about this very important program. As a physician myself, the real-life patient experiences shared during this session are truly inspiring. So my name is Antti Kourula. I'm Vice President of CSL Behring's Hematology Therapeutic Area. And on behalf of CSL Behring, I'd like to congratulate the WFH for forging ahead with this new virtual format. I think that right now, community and the feeling of connection are more important than ever. So we really appreciate this time over the next several days to come together. We're happy to join institutions and individuals committed to ensuring patients receive proper diagnosis, access to care, and the ongoing support needed for both themselves and their loved ones. You may know CSL Behring for our leadership in hematology and our broad portfolio of therapies for bleeding disorders such as hemophilia A, hemophilia B, and von Willebrand's disease. But you may not know that ensuring access to medicines for people in need is precisely why CSL Behring was formed more than 100 years ago. I'm going to spend just a minute on this background because it's important in understanding how we establish a patient-focused culture decades ago, which remains stronger than ever today. Actually, in 1916, CSL started in Melbourne, Australia, as a government agency with a simple but important promise to provide medicines to people. At that time, supplies of medicines reaching Australia were inconsistent, especially for serious and chronic medical conditions. As you might know, Australia is also home of a range of poisonous creatures, and access to plasma-derived products, anti-sera, and vaccines literally meant the difference between life or death. So the Australian government formed the Commonwealth Serum Laboratories, thus CSL, to ensure people had access to critical medicines. The people of Australia relied on CSL to develop and deliver these important products, and we fully embrace that responsibility. For CSL, this has been more than a commitment, it's a promise. That promise is embodied today by our status as visionary corporate partner with the WFH. Over a decade ago, in 2009, CSL Behring was the first biotech company to make a multi-year promise to the WFH. We're currently in the middle of our fourth extended commitment, which supports critical WFH programs, including not only the Humanitarian Aid Program, but also the Global Alliance for Progress and the Global World Bleeding Disorders Registry. All these critical programs fulfill the WFH's vision of treatment for all. Multi-year support helps to provide a sustainable and predictable supply so that people with bleeding disorders in the developing world may have continued access to treatment. As part of our most recent commitment, CSL Behring promised to donate 50 million international units of product over 3 years. And I'm happy to report that in 2019 alone, we donated almost twice that amount, close to 100,000 IUs, including both plasma-derived and recombinant therapies that help patients in nearly 50 countries. Treatment for all really comes down to access for all. Patients' access to life-saving medicines is a global challenge that none of us can ignore. Thank you all for attending. We look forward to interacting with you throughout the virtual conference, and CSL Behring is looking forward to the continued collaboration with WFH. Thanks for my part.
Thank you, Antti. And yes, we run a little bit over. I apologize for that. But I would have liked to run actually even more over. That would have meant that more companies would have joined the program. So we can count on all of you. Thank you. I hope we will be able to count on even more companies, and that we will be able to report back in a few years. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the virtual summit.